motor installation, the tools you will require is a socket driver with a 9/16 socket head, a 5/16 open end wrench, a 9/16 open end wrench, a very small flathead screwdriver, a medium-sized Phillips head screwdriver, a mallet, a knife, strap is optional, masking tape, a marker, a drill with a 1/4 inch drill bit on it. Alright, so the first thing you got to do is you got to open up the doors to your machine. That'll give you access to the left-hand side louver panel above the water manifold and motor. You're going to remove that louver panel and set up your ladder next to the machine. First thing that you do is always make sure that the power to your machine is completely off. You have your breaker off and there's no electricity making its way into the machine. Second step is to remove this cover from the top of the motor. That's done with the Phillips head screwdriver. You remove the top, 2 screws. Once the 2 screws are removed, you will open up the junction box that will be filled with wire nuts and wires. Alright, once you've removed the cover and undone all of the wire nuts as well as the ground screw, this is what you'll wind up with. So the ground wire will be connected to the screw you see here at the base of the junction box. Remove those and remove all the wire nuts to free all of your wiring. This is what your final step will look like. You're going to be completely disconnected from all power. Just be sure that you either reinsert the ground screw into the motor housing or keep it in a safe place. You can then, once you're done and have removed all the wire nuts, put the wiring back into the junction box, screw your ground screw back in, keeping everything disconnected. You then want to put your junction box back together with the screws. Alright, so once you're disconnected, you're going to want to put your cover back on. Give me the 9/16 wrench, Jake. And the socket driver, please. Yeah, thank you. Alright, so the next step is going to be to remove these 4 nuts. There's 2 facing here and 2 underneath that you can't really get to. Top 2 are extremely easy. Use your nut driver or your socket driver. You can remove them right here. They have lock washers underneath them. You only have to remove them about 3 twists, and then they become loose enough to remove with your fingers. You can take these out. Make sure that you keep a hold of the lock washers. Sit right there. Next, you want to use your 9/16 wrench and get under here. Now, these are the tougher ones to get to. Take a little more time, but again, you only have to rotate them a little bit of the way before they become loose enough to remove with your fingers.
That's definitely the toughest one.
Yeah, I'd say so. Alright, so now your motor is completely clear. Now what I recommend is to use a strap, but again, this strap is optional. You don't have to use it if you don't want to. The best way to do it is to get under here, get both hands under the motor, and slowly start sliding it out. Once you slide it out, it'll slide out very easily. It's about a 35-pound motor, and that's it right there. So what you want to make sure that you look for is that the shaft has a key. The key is still set in it. You don't want the key to be stuck in the gear head for any means. So this is going to be the 1 horsepower motor removed. Now you want to take this and set it off to the side. Okay, so open it up. On the face of the GS2, you'll see it says 2 HP, 2.0 horsepower, 230 volt, 3 pH. That's the one you're looking for. Make sure that's the one that you have. Next one is going to be the motor. This one's a bit more difficult. Cut the tape on it. Open up the box. Pop off the ends. Remove the plastic. Remove this end. Be very careful that with this slide cover that covers the shaft, that you keep the O-ring on the shaft and that the key on the shaft is there intact, and that it can go. Next, you're going to want to take your Phillips head screwdriver and your mallet. Phillips head screwdriver and your mallet, and you're going to turn the motor over this way so the shaft is pointing to the right. You then take your mallet and your screwdriver, and there's a small, see, punch out circle. This circle needs to be punched out. What I recommend is you start just on the inside of the left. I'm going to take a shot of where that is located. Right there. Pop it there. Pop it there, and you just want to get it popped out. Alright, then what you do is you unscrew these top ones. Remove the cover, under your wires, remove the little black punch out piece. That can be thrown away. What I recommend then is covering the cover back on for now. Have that ready. Your motor's now ready to go. The GS2 driver, open it up. Now on this GS2, you're going to want to just get a little familiar with it. Up at the top, under the automation direct sign, you're going to have a line 1, 2, and 3 sticker, as well as your ground line. On the bottom, you're going to have these green wire connectors down here, as well as T1, T2, T3, B1, and B2. And we're not going to use the B1 and B2, but we will use the T1, T2, and T3 ingoing lines. So these two are now ready to go. Okay, you now see that the motor has been removed from the machine. We have our pre-assembled motor ready to go. This is the hardest step in the motor installation. The first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to check and see where the keyed seat is in the gear head. So if you look down into the gear head, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see it. Yeah, you can. You can see the slot, which is located right here for the key. You're going to want to make sure that you know where that slot is in the gear head seat. it's possible that you can turn it slightly with your finger to get it set up where you want it to be. I recommend loading it directly upright, having it set there and ready to go for you. You then take the shaft and try to set it in the same orientation that you have the gear head, so that they're both in the same orientation. Now, like I said, this is the hardest part. So what you want to do is you want to either get your strap. I don't use a strap, but I recommend that if you don't feel comfortable doing it this way, that you use a strap. Now, here's where the hard part starts. So you want to get the motor started in the seat. So it started here. Now, you don't want to just directly push it in, okay? Because then the key might slip and slide. So what I do is I kind of start very slowly jiggling it. As you jiggle it, the key should stay. You want to get it to be as level with the gear head as you can, and then as you slowly start jiggling it in there, you don't want to push too hard or go too fast. The motor needs the seat all the way against the gear head, so you can't have any space there. If you have any space, then the key is not seated correctly. So this is where the hardest part of this motor installation is going to happen. The key sometimes slides out of the shaft. The key sometimes pushes back too far. That usually means that you're not level with the gear head and that you're trying to insert the shaft crooked. But once you get it correctly, the shaft will slide right into the gear head and you should be good to go. Now, the next thing that you do is you want to take the nuts that you removed, making sure that you keep the lock washers on there, and install them through the gear head, and you're going to have to turn the motor very slightly until you find the mounting holes. Now you want to get all four started, and like I said, they're very easy to turn in. You can almost turn them in the whole way. I recommend starting them, not tightening any of them before you get them all started. And they go in the same holes that you remove them from. You then take your open-ended wrench, 9/16. I recommend tightening the bottom ones first. Alright.
Now it is.
Okay, so we're at the wiring stage of the machine. Remove the top plate to the junction box. Make sure that you get all your wires untangled from what they are. None of the connections that are done in it already need to stay that way, so just make sure all the wires are singled out. Notice your ground screw again there. Now here's what we're gonna do is you should absolutely mark all of the wiring with masking tape. The three legs that power the motor are the black, red, and green wires that are zip tied together. They're gonna go into your motor. This green with yellow stripe is going to go to your ground screw. So mark those two first. So this is going to be your motor ground and these are your motor power. They go into the bottom of the VFD up here. So you can see these are your three legs for the power. This is your ground. Comes out of the ground screw on the bottom of the VFD. Also coming out of the bottom of the VFD are the rotation switch wires that go directly to the front of the machine, as well as your relay that come out of your high power junction box. they go into the bottom here, you can see. I will show those to you, but the black and red wires coming from the relay out of the junction box, one goes into DCM, the other goes into D1. Also, the rotation switch go into the same ones of those. The white one goes into the DCM with the black relay wire, and the other red rotation switch wire goes into D1 as well. So that's going to be under there. On top, coming out of the top of the junction box, is your VFD supply, the power supply to your VFD coming out of your high power junction box. They go to the top. Those top ones, one goes to the ground leg, the green goes to the ground all the way on the right hand side, and the red and black, starting on the left hand side, it goes red then black. That's your leg 1, leg 2 in the ground for the VFD. So you're set to go here. Have all your wires marked again. This is motor ground, motor power, rotation switch, relay, and VFD power. The relay and the VFD power come out of the high junction box. The rotation switch power, or the rotation switch, goes to your switch on the front of the machine, and the motor legs go directly into the motor. So now, what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna take your motor power. You're gonna need a Phillips head screwdriver for the ground. I recommend you do the ground first. So, unscrew your ground. Now there are holes in the motor underneath the junction box. You might be able to see them on the video, you might not. These holes are extremely dangerous to drop anything into. If you drop anything into these holes, you can see the coils. That's exactly what you don't want to do, is drop that screw into those holes. Luckily it didn't fall in. Now what you want to do is you want to make sure that your little brass washer is on the screw. You want to put the screw through the head of your ground wire, put it through the hole, and being very careful, attach the ground wire to the hole for your ground and tighten that up. Doesn't have to be super tight, just snug. Okay, next thing that you're going to do is you're going to run your power through there, through that hole. That's not supposed to be on there. Give me 1 second. Pause it.
Yep. Yep.
All right, now for the power, the wiring of your machine. You have 3 legs. Red is line 1, black line 2, green line 3. On the face of this motor, which is kind of difficult to see, it has a low power readout of what you're supposed to be doing. You're not going to be able to see it, really.
Maybe.
You can kind of see it, but it's the one on the left hand side. So line 1, line 2, and line 3, red, black, green. Now, what you do is you take the wire nuts that you removed from the original motor. And the first one that you're going to do with the red line 1 is you're going to take the blue wire. The blue wire and the brown wire. Now you want to make sure these leads are at least a ½ an inch long, preferably 3/4 to an inch. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to strip this wire a little bit further. I don't believe it's long enough. All right. So red, blue, and brown. You then tie together. Now always twist the wires first in a clockwise direction before you put the wire nut on, and then put a lot of pressure downward on the wire nut as you're twisting it. And you want to twist it until it's tight. All right, now without dropping it, you test each wire. Give a nice solid tug on each one. Then you know it's a good connection. Okay, so that's line 1 with brown and blue. Line 2 is white and red and black. So your line 2 incoming You then take the red one and the white one. Again, make sure all your wires are somewhat tidy. Make sure it's clipped at least a ½ inch. Rotate in the clockwise direction. Grab your wire nut. With downward force, you twist. All right, then you check. Nice pull, nice pull. See, not a good connection. So you want to untwist it. I'm going to strip this one a little bit further. White, black, and red. Black is incoming, white and red off the motor. Tighten. Check for tight. Good. So that one's ready to go. All right. Then line 3, orange with the yellow black. Yellow black. Yellow/black. That is the yellow black. Orange and the green. This is the final leg. Final power leg coming from the machine. Twist clockwise. Grab your wire nut, put pressure downward, twist until tight, and check your legs. Good. All right, now you should be left with the yellow, the black, and the gray wire. Yellow, black, and gray. All right. So these ends have a little bit of gunk on them. All right, just make sure your wires are somewhat clean. Twist them all together. Get your wire nut. So the final wire nut that you should have, put it on there. Oh, shit. Hold on.
Being all gunked up.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Not biting on you.
It just bit, I think. All right, so then you tuck, pull, pull. All right, all good. So now you're done with the motor wiring. So you want to take all these and you kind of give them a little bit of a curl and a twist. Put them all down in here. Make sure they're sitting nice. Grab your gasketing, stick it on the top of the into the plate. Make sure your rubber gasketing's there. You want to start these screws. All right. Okay, so your motor is now wired and ready to go. The next step is going to be to redo and replace all the wires for the VFD. I'll just go grab it.
Good.
All right, so this is the replaced VFD that is currently installed here. I already replaced it, but I'll go through the steps with you. Your VFD is going to be mounted just like this on here. You're going to want to use your 5/16 wrench, open end wrench, to remove the nuts that are holding it to the frame of the machine. Again, that's 5/16 open end wrench. It's a little difficult to get in there, but you can get it off over time. Next step is that you're going to want to start at the top, basically. So you use your Phillips head screwdriver on the 3 legs coming out of the high-powered voltage box going to the top of the VFD. Again, marked power supply to VFD. Red, black, green, that's how it goes. And whenever you're inserting these, remember that you're turning clockwise to tighten. So that means that you want to put all the wires to the right side of the screw. Whenever you do that, the screw will then pull the wire into itself. If you put it on the left side of the screw, it's going to push it out. It's not going to be as solid of a connection. So whenever you're doing this connection, you're going to want to unscrew the screw first. Now, what I recommend is doing one leg at a time. Literally hold both VFDs up next to each other, and whenever you're taking one wire off, you're replacing it into the exact same spot. Do not take all the wires off to start with and then try to think that you can put all the wires back. Just do one wire at a time. Okay, so again, as you're doing it and you pull the wires out, clean them up, pull them forward, make sure that all the wires are nice and tight, twist it a little bit. And again, whenever you unscrew the screw to take it out and you're putting the screw back in, make sure you're putting the wire to the right side of the screw. As you're tightening down, the screw will then pull the wire in towards the connection rather than push it away. Now get a really solid connection there, make sure you tighten it down tight, and then always check and verify that the connection is solid. So we're gonna take this one off. Imagine we're putting into the next one. You're gonna tighten, make sure it's all cleaned up, put it on the right side of the screw, and then tighten it again. So there you go. And you're gonna do that across all 3 legs on the top, okay? Then you're gonna cover it up. Now down at the bottom, start with the 3 legs. Now it's flipped upside down now, so you're spinning clockwise, so you wanna put it to the left side of the screw when you're spinning clockwise, okay? Because you're coming up from the bottom, you're gonna do it opposite. So you wanna take it out. Imagine we're putting it in the new VFD, twist it around. You would have your next VFD sitting up here, going into the bottom of the box, marked T2. Black goes in T2, red goes in T1, green goes in T3. There's no ground wire coming off of the bottom on these 3 legs because your ground wire is on the bottom down here on this side. So imagine we're doing it, you take your wire out. Again, clean it up, make sure all the wires are uniform, twist, put it on the left side when you're doing on the bottom. So whenever you're on the bottom, you want to pull the wire up towards the connection. So you keep pressure and tension pushing up as you tighten the screw down, and then check the pull. So check and pull, check and pull, check and pull. We're gonna switch this one again. You tighten it. You don't have to remove the screw the whole way. You only want to remove the screw enough so that you can pull the wire out. Again, wire green goes into T3. Put it on the left side. Solid connection. Pull, tug, make sure. Okay, on your green ground, very self-explanatory. Screw comes out. Put the head of the screw through the loop. Put the screw back on. Okay, now your ground wire, power wires, and motor VFD wires are connected. You're done with the Phillips head screwdriver. So next, you want to take your mini flathead, okay? Now these are easy to get confused, so do not do it. Make sure that you have all your wires marked. Only do 1 wire at a time. Flathead screwdriver, you only unscrew it about 5 turns. It'll then allow you to pull out the 2 red wires. One is coming from the rotation switch, one is coming from the relay in the high power box. Make sure the wires are nice and uniform, tightened around. Now the red ones are going to go into D1, okay? Make sure that you're putting them into D1, okay? Hold them up there and tighten the screw down. Now you want to make sure these screws are very tight because the connection is small, so you want to make sure that you're good. Give a little bit of a pull. Don't pull too much or you're going to break the VFD. Next one, is DCM. DCM. You're going to take the motor rotation switch, one white one from that, as well as the black coming off the relay in the high voltage box. You're then going to remove them. Now, try to always do one wire at a time. So you're removing one wire from the VFD to the other VFD. Only do it one at a time. DCM, gonna put them both up in there. Make sure the connection's good. Shoved up in there. Hold them while you tighten. All right, good to go. Make sure the wires are nice in there. There's slots for you to run the wires through and cover that up. Your wiring is now done. The last step is going to be to program the VFD, but that's going to be another instructional video.